Could we do a draft on uniforms? Like the best uniforms go to the first draft pick and then all the way back down.
I'm not gonna say which ones I think are the best and worst. I'll make some people mad. But
They
I
all
definitely
kind
have
of suck
opinions
now,
about.
Jake.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Block.
It's the first block of the day.
I'm Jake,
And I'm Chris.
and I founded Virtual Arts with the help of my good buddy Chris and a whole lot of other awesome people.
So this is a weekly show where we answer big questions about the pageantry and marching arts.
And today we'll be asking, could DCI have an NFL-style draft, and interviewing TJ Choquette about his thoughts.
But before that, we wanted to tell you about why we're starting this podcast.
Yeah. So Virtual Arts, the company Virtual Arts, which was responsible for the Virtual Marching Band Project and Virtual Drum and Bugle Corps and the WGI Community Project, is growing still. We're producing now summer, fall, and winter virtual shows, along with some other kind of concert stuff. We have projects all over the place and all over the country and people from all over the world. And we have these shows and these videos that come out, but they're kind of a long time in between. It's a long time to wait in between each next thing. So we started doing weekly YouTube content for everybody. We're kind of ramping that up. And then we also wanted to bring more free long form content. So we started a podcast too. And this is that. We tackle questions that people are just too afraid to ask or refuse to ask, usually about marching band or the pageantry arts or drum corps and that kind of stuff, but other stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, so tell you what, Jake, let's just get right into it. So we want to imagine in this first episode how DCI might adopt an NFL-style draft.
Welcome to Music City, home of the 2019 NFL Draft.
That's something that you and I have talked about just in our fun free time before. And when we discuss this, we always say we want it to work, not as a concept. Somewhat of a, honestly, right now is the perfect time to do it. We would say wave a magic wand, but right now, like, we have a break. So we could jump back into it right now. So how could we make this happen?
If you haven't figured it out by now, Chris and I fantasize about the what-ifs and how-tos in the marching arts. The NFL-style draft for DCI is no different. Is this a dumb idea? Maybe. Is it a fun thought experiment? Definitely.
So first, we should probably break down, Jake, if you want to break down, how does an NFL draft actually work for some of our listeners who don't, watch the draft?
Okay, so if you're an NFL or not an NFL fan, or you are an NFL fan and you don't follow the draft and how new players are selected and all that, again, NFL is the National Football League. Football as in American football, the one that looks kind of like a potato, not like a round ball. It's that sport. This is how we get new players into the professional version of the American that sport, which is the National Football League. So each year, at the kind of the beginning or on the off season when the games are not happening, each team is given a position in the drafting order. So there's a pool of new players that exist. Usually it's college graduates. I think you have to play 3 years of college football to be eligible. I'm not exactly sure on the rules there, but usually it's college graduates or people who have done a lot of college football. A couple hundred people who all enter this giant pool of players to be selected from. And for the NFL, the team that did the best in the year before gets to pick last, and the team that did the worst gets to pick first. And the point of this is to try to equalize the teams as much as they can. So if you lost all your games last year, you get the best new up-and-coming player in the hopes that it makes all the teams more fair. And it works to a large extent. It's a little more complicated than that because there's multiple rounds of the draft. And it kind of goes in reverse order. You can trade picks. It gets fairly complex, but we're just going to focus on just the fact that as new players come in, as new people come into the NFL, they are selected in reverse order. So from worst to best. And that helps balance the system. And we want to see if we can apply this system to drum corps. Right now, you kind of have the top groups who are the top groups, and then you have the low groups who are the low groups. And it's very hard, and some might say political, to switch between those. So we're trying to imagine a new system. And in this system, we're like Chris said, maybe waving a magic wand, or now that we're on a break from drum corps and it's going to come back, we can automatically jump into this new system. So it's not like, there has to be a transition period, but no, we're imagining that this is going to work the way it's going to work. And it does have to be sustainable. So we have to say it has to be sustainable financially and logistically moving forward. But we get to kind of design the audition system from scratch. So
yeah, absolutely. And well, I mean, the main reason that I thought up of this is, they would tell us when we were marching back in the day that this was, music's professional marching league. It was the professional like marching band is how if you're at an airport and someone asks, what are you doing with drum corps? Most people say it's like professional marching band. So I look into other professional sports. How do they do their quote unquote audition process? The DCI audition process is long. It's really difficult.
So long. And
it's getting harder for students to pick.
Fun fact, I had to travel to 3 Bluecoats camps before getting a contract.
A lot of drum corps are really aggressive about you have to be here once a month, and a lot of those camps overlap. So if you're torn between 2 corps, you kind of have to pick before you even audition. And I was thinking, like, do any other major league sports deal with this? And it's like, no, they all have a combine and they all have a draft. And so that's when I said, Jake, what if there was a DCI combine?
So Chris, what is a combine? But before we go any further,
yeah,
there's a draft, obviously. That's when you pick the players. What is the combine that comes before that, as you understand it?
So the combine in professional sports is this. I think they do it at Lucas Oil Stadium, ironically enough.
Ironically, yes.
And in the NFL, and all these, like Jake said, all these up and coming 100 players or so go to this Lucas Oil area, and they do a bunch of different exercises to show off their skills. So there's a 40-yard dash. And that's why everyone says like a 4.2 is like a super fast 40-yard dash. They do bench press for reps. They all have to do, I believe it's 225. How many bench press reps can they do? And they do about, 5 to 7 exercises. And now every team has the stats of each player, and they can see what they can do, and then they can make better decisions about these people.
This got me thinking, what would these skill sets be in the DCI realm? For trumpets, maybe the highest note played. For battery, how many singles can be played in a minute? Or for guard, how many times in a row could someone catch a 7? I don't know. Maybe these skill sets are silly and not translatable, but it would be a lot of fun to watch.
So
sure.
That's that's an audition. That's basically what we do in drum corps. We have you come in and we assess what you can do musically and visually, and then we decide whether or not we want to take you. The difference is with the combine is it's not you're auditioning for, in the NFL, you're not auditioning for the Bengals and the Patriots and the Eagles. No. You're just going to the NFL audition, and then each team decides whether they want you or not. So I guess, Jake, do we want to go ahead and jump on in? Because I think here's my concept.
Yes.
If you're all ready to listen.
Absolutely. It's 254, by the way. I quickly looked it up. It's 254 players for the NFL, not for band. But,
okay, so 254 NFL members. But I think we can estimate in drum corps, there's about 150 per drum corps, and there are about 30 of them.
I think it's total members, it's like 3,300 members, maybe a little more. If it will, again, should say this is for the world-class groups, and there's like 20-something world-class drum corps.
So 3,300 world-class members. What we're going to do is we're getting rid of every single individual audition camp in my perfect world that we're doing this. And we are doing the week before move-ins. So this is going to be in early May. We're doing a week-long combine up in Indianapolis. So everyone gathers their belongings, they move, you pack as if you're going for an entire summer, and you fly up or you drive up, you do whatever it takes to get to Indianapolis. And in the convention center, we have the drum corps combine. So each section will have their own, list of things that all the corps are going to want to see. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting, because like corps directors are going to have to come together in their board meetings and decide like, okay, what is each section going to want to see, this, that, and the other. There are differences in teaching and things like that, but it's the same in the NFL. There are different styles of play and this, that, and the other that you can take into account. But each player will go through their own individual combine, right? In their admin process, you're given a list when you like fill out all your forms and things. At the very bottom, it's going to say which drum corps are you interested in, and you can pick as many as you want. So you look at someone like, I can't think of like the Blue Devil center snare or like a Blue Coat center snare from the year before, they're likely not interested in groups like, lower end on the spectrum that are placing 18th, 19th, down to the 22nd. But they're definitely interested.
So you're saying that they pick both ways. So like
correct.
Both the drum corps get to pick, and so this is like Tinder. Like you're swiping left or right on chorus, and they're swiping left or right on you, and you have to match up.
Correct. So the students start with it first, because this should be about the students more than it should be about anyone else. So the students, before they even do the combine, they go, I want to be in these, how many corps. I say open to, if one kid swipes on every single drum corps, that should be a possibility. And then they play. And each of the, staff members, so if you're in the battery, like all the battery caption heads are getting the list of like the kids and what they can do. And they're like walking through and they're seeing who can do what. Everyone has numbers so that they can write these down. Like, A277 looks really good. I might want to draft him or whatever it is. So once it's all through, then, as we said, it starts from the bottom. Whoever placed 22nd the year before, they get, say, the first 15 picks. Now, they can only pick from the members who swiped right on them, right? I think that's how Tinder works. It's the right swipes.
I've actually never used Tinder. Every time I was going to use Tinder, I ended up getting into a relationship, and now I'm married. So it's
been a long time. I think it's right. So if they swiped correctly on I want to be in the Pioneer, then they have their list of people who agreed to march with them. Then they reach out to that student and they say, we would like to have you. And then as another added measure of security, the members still get to decide yes or no. They're not locked in, because I know some kids are going to be like, my first, goal is Crossman. My next goal is this. And then my final one, just in case, is Pioneer. And if they think they really did good enough to make Crossman, then they should be able to, wait it out. But they should know, like, if you say no and you don't get drafted, then you don't get drafted.
Think about all the performers who put all their eggs in one basket for auditions and are genuinely the last cut from a top corps. I know there's plenty of people who say they were the last cut, looking at you, Johnny Snare Drummer, but some people legitimately are the last cut. They're clearly good enough to make a drum corps, but if it's too late, they get shafted. The DCI draft would give them options.
And so we go in reverse order. Pioneer gets 15, the 21st gets 15, whatever it is, all the way up to the Blue Devils, and then you go back through it again. And you just keep doing it until the corps get to 150. We might get all of them. We might get each corps up to 150. There might be some of the lower corps that don't get to that number. I still haven't figured that part out. But my other favorite part about doing this is after the combine, then everyone goes to move-ins. This gives everyone an even playing field of move-ins has been creeping up more and more. It used to just be like end of May almost, or mid-May, and I've heard of groups starting like May 5th, as early as that, trying to get a jump on the competition. But this gives an even playing field of, your corps hasn't...
This is when move-in starts.
Yeah, your corps hasn't
it
rehearsed ever. Your drumline hasn't played together ever. Now, which corps have the best teaching staff? Because you could draft all the best players. Now let's see if you can actually get them to mesh in 80 days. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think it raises the stakes more on drum corps. It really pushes our teachers to teach more. And in my opinion, it gives kids more of an idea of who is interested in them. I marched Spirit and Phantom Regiment, and they were both under the same captionet. I have no idea if I auditioned anywhere else, if anyone would even be interested. I couldn't really do it because it was really frowned upon, at least at Phantom, to go audition somewhere else. They didn't want that. They say we don't play second fiddle to anyone.
Plus, it's expensive. I mean, a drum corps camp is what? I don't know what it is anymore. $150, $200? It's a lot. If you don't live there, you're flying. That's another couple $100 at least.
Correct.
So maybe we'll call it like safely $400 per camp. You got 3 or 4 camps. Like you want to watch an audition for 2 drum corps. That's thousands of dollars before you even start paying your tuition or your dues or whatever. So,
and I've been on those staffs where it sucks when there's like 2 kids who are really close and they're the last spot, and I feel bad. I'm like, you gotta keep showing up because one of you has to break through. and one does, and I feel so bad for the person who got cut because that's the first thing I think of. It's like, how much money did you sink in hoping to make the group? Like you just spent like about $1,000. Thankfully, I was teaching groups that were like local. I was teaching Music City Drum Corps, so not a lot of kids were flying in to audition there. But if I was up at like Phantom Regiment, where a lot of people fly in, and we've got people from Japan flying in and things like that, that's just, that's a huge sum of money that people are losing just to do that. Honestly, this combine, and when you buy into the combine, say, even if it's $300, that's going to be cheaper than the entire audition process you had initially. And then the other thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be splitting that admin cost across every group. So now it's not just the Bluecoats making all the money in auditions, because everyone auditions for the Bluecoats. And then, say Jersey Surf is really struggling because not a lot of people audition there, Now,
and don't get me wrong, we love the Bluecoats. I marched the Bluecoats. I love the Bluecoats. But this, again, all of this in an effort for like more fairness financially across the board and more fairness competitively across the board. Is this the right way to do it? I don't know. But we think it, the current system that we have may not be perfect, and we're trying to pick a new one. So
I think it's just a fun way. It'll be more chaos. I know a lot of people are going to say, especially that teach drum corps, they're like, that's not enough time. There are people who audition really well, but they can't learn well. And my argument to that is, I love that. That's the whole point of the NFL. Like, you draft people who you think they're like, oh, they're going to crush it this season, and they don't. And they fall flat. And how do you handle that adversity? I think it's going to be wild to see how drum corps could handle this craziness. And me personally, I would love to watch my staff friends just lose their minds over the summer. That'll be a lot of fun for me.
Why don't we take a quick break, and when we come back, I'll let you know all the problems with your pitch, Chris.
All right, I love that.
Today's show is made possible by Viz Audio. Did you love the virtual drum and bugle corps show design? Well, it was done by a team of professional designers headed up by Viz Audio. These writers and arrangers make their living designing shows for indoor groups, marching bands, and drum corps, and they are some of the best in the world. Viz Audio has an ever-growing catalog of cutting-edge music designs for the marching arts. Indoor percussion, marching band, winter guard soundtracks, you name it. They also offer consulting and feedback services for overall show programming, music design, and they have 2 decades of design experience with success at every level. Seriously, they've won a lot of medals. They win band a lot. If you want to take your design to the next level, you can find them at vizaud.io, which is spelled VISAUD.io, vizaud.io, or you can find them at Viz Audio on all social platforms, or just search Viz Audio. Okay, we're back. All right, Chris.
Yeah.
I like most of what you said, and I think most of your concept for how to do this is fine. Here are the things that I would like to adjust. Problem number 1, with the swiping system, I can tell you Pioneer, RIP, isn't getting enough swipes. Pioneers say that they get first round draft pick. Congrats. No one's swiping right on Pioneer. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many picks they get.
I think there are people who are loyal to those groups. They march that group once, and they continue to march there. I think they're going to keep getting those vets back, is my thing. And I think they're going to get the people who are desperate to march no matter the cost. You know what I mean? I hear your point. They might get literally 150 of them, and that's all. And that's it. That's all they're going to get.
Well, that hurts the whole, like, this is fairness kind of thing. Like, for example, like Baker Mayfield, good NFL quarterback, got drafted, I think, by the Cleveland Browns.
He sure did.
That means he entered into the NFL draft as the best player, or the best quarterback at least, that year in college football. Mm-hmm. And the NFL said, congratulations, you and your family are now moving to Cleveland. And he said, okay, that sounds great, because you're going to pay me a bunch of money.
But I think that's the problem. See, if this was a paid activity, I would say the kids don't get a choice. But since this isn't a paid activity, they're not getting paid to do this. Otherwise, I would totally agree. I'd be like, well, shouldn't be so good, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's my only concern is the fact that we don't pay them, because you're right. Like the NFL players, I do feel somewhat bad for them. Like Joe Burrow this year is playing for the Bengals, and he was getting demolished in these first few games because his O-line was not helping him out, and he just came out of like a college national championship, and he's super hot, and then he goes to this team where he's just getting annihilated.
Yeah,
but he gets paid to do so.
That's true. That's true. I would move to Cleveland too if you paid me enough money. That's definitely true. Yes, absolutely. If there's anyone from Cleveland listening, Cleveland is lovely. I'm just saying there are objectively better places to live in the United States.
Definitely, if you look at where NFL teams are located.
Yes. Okay. So that was maybe okay. I'll give you that one sort of problem. That was problem number one. Problem number two: too many kids, Chris. Too many kids. Like that is too many people to audition. Like say you have exactly 3 times the amount that you need. That's over 10,000 people. How are you going to audition 10,000 people at once? I mean, tell me how that's going to work.
It's going to take a week. DCI is going to have to rent out. It's going to be the biggest slumber party of the country because we're all going to sleep in. They're going to sleep in the convention center somehow. I don't know. This is a little bit of a magic wand. I think they can do it.
Maybe the solution is that vets can go back to the same core, accepting their same position and not have to go into the draft again.
Thankfully, you have a ton of staff, right? Because you should have all hands on deck from every single drum corps. Now, it's not going to be as much time that you get in the regular audition process, right? You get, tens and tens of hours in normal auditions, pulling up to 100 if you're like in the brass and you do every single month from November to May.
Which already feels like not enough time. I have taught at a couple different world-class drum corps, and you even feel like at that point you don't have quite enough time. Which brings me to my third problem with your system, Chris. There's no pre-screening whatsoever. Can we not have maybe a video audition? And it's $15 or $35. I don't know how much. Some less amount of money to send in a video. You get qualitative and quantitative feedback, and then you get a thumbs up, thumbs down. Like, yes, you made the top 10,000 for the year. And that way, the kids who are just way not it or super young are not having to waste money flying. Maybe that is part of it, saying, I like to learn. I want to stand by the people who are going to make it and drum with them or play with them or spin with them. And that's worth it, and that has value. But I don't know if it has so much value that I'm flying to somewhere in California for a weekend.
So hear me out. I like this idea, and I think I'm going to bring in like a little bit of college football to it. I like the pre-audition idea. My other inspiration for this was honestly color guards. Color guards are fantastic in drum corps, and they have 2 audition weekends because drum corps have accepted that WGI is a thing. The drum lines still haven't adopted that yet. We're still waiting for that to happen. But color guards only show up in November, and they show up in April, and they're able to put together a color guard that kills it by the end of the summer. And so my argument is, if the color guard can do it, the drum line can do it, and the brass can do it. So they're really only given about, 48 hours of total time where they see those girls. They're not sending in, to my knowledge, and if you're in color guard and
you say girls because you marched Phantom and it was all girls at the time, but we mean
yes,
boys and girls. Chris's drum corps was all girls.
It was. I was doing Phantom Regiment back in when they brought it back to just Phantomettes days. That was right in 2011. So when the boys and girls, they might be sending in video auditions. I don't think they are, though. I'm pretty sure they just see them in November. They have a general idea of them, and then they go, all right, we'll see what you can do in April, May.
If you're auditioning for guard and this is incorrect, please let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Please correct us. What is that email, Jake, that they can send us to?
I'll say it again at the end, but it's morningblock@gmail.com, or you can tag Virtual Arts Inc. on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that.
Yeah, light us.
We will see all of them.
Light us up if we're wrong. Please do. But my understanding is they see them twice, and they're able to make a decision. So drum lines should be able to do that, and brass should be able to do that. So
yeah, I mean, if I'm auditioning people in a room of people, we're playing for the first 5 minutes of the camp, and I taught front ensemble at Spirit and the Colts pre-COVID, but within the first 5 minutes of the camp, I have 3 very distinct categories of auditionee. There's definitely the yes, the definitely no's, and the maybes. The definitely yes kind of get pushed off to the side, like, yeah, you're going to be fine. We'll figure you out later. The definitely no's, we're going to give great instruction and great feedback to and hope they get a positive experience because they're definitely not going to make the group. And then I spend the rest of the camp trying to figure out my middle group, the ones who are like, well, they're good at this thing, but they're weird here. And that's really what the audition is. I think with the pre-screening, you really could get people in those 3 camps pretty quickly.
And
you know
what's odd, Jake?
Tell me.
I think a lot of people don't know that middle category is actually not a lot of people. It's like only a handful that are in the maybes. Sure. A lot of people think that'd be the majority. It's not. The majority is in the yes or the no category. And it's really a few in that middle. So we do a video first, and then you're even given a yay or a nay. But even with the nay...
Or a may.
Yeah. If you want to practice, if you want to come up and just so that you're not freaked out by, being in a room full of 8 to 10,000 people auditioning, so that you have that experience to going through it once, then the next time you do it for real, you can actually be okay with it.
Okay. I like this. Chris, do you feel comfortable enough with all of this that we can maybe try it out on TJ Choquette and see what he thinks about our current plan?
I think TJ Choquette is the perfect person to ask about this.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And I can't wait for the listeners to hear his thoughts on this.
We wanted a second opinion on our pitch, and we thought who better than TJ Choquette. TJ is a Bluecoats and Mystique snare drum alumni, marched in 2012, and in Mystique 2012 and 2013. Currently, he's the battery coordinator at Atlanta Quest. He also happens to be a huge NFL fan, and anyone who knows TJ knows he's a super sharp guy and has some of the hottest takes out there. So we set up a call with him, and I asked him if he thought our idea would work.
So
how would you structure this? So the rules of this are there's no transition period. We can wave a wand and then boom, this exists. Yep. But it has to be sustaining starting now. It has to still work financially and logistically. So how do you make this work?
I think it's impossible because I don't think
what?
I don't think the number 1 kid will march Pioneer. I don't think whoever is the number 1 pick in the draft, you would have to pay him. I don't think the trumpet section leader from Devs is going to march. If he's the 3rd pick overall, he goes to MCDC. I don't think that dude's paying $4,000 to march MCDC.
TJ wasn't enamored with the idea, so I had to clarify the transition a little. In our made-up universe, there are no top groups. Everyone starts on an even playing field. But what if there's a ton of other good people too? It's a balanced ensemble. You got a few devs, snare drummers. You got some snare drummers who are at the academy, and then you got a couple Pioneer snare drummers. It's all good. He'll be the center snare. It'll be cool. Yeah, no group is going to be the Blue Devils.
All right. So I guess if you took away the preconceived notion of every staff, if every kid thought every staff was equally good.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. I'll play ball. All right, but okay. So if there's if Men in Black came up and zapped you. All right, then I think this is possible. Then you don't have to pay them, and then they'll probably pay $1,000.
Okay, so TJ was on board, so I asked him again, how would this work? And we were not prepared for his version of the DCI Combine.
How would it work? Legit. I mean, it sounds like a good plan. I mean, I definitely want to see him run the 40-yard dash. I absolutely want to see a...
Why?
I want to see a vertical leap. I want to see their vert. I want to see a bench. I want to put 225 on a bar and see how many times. Let's just throw in a couple.
Less than 1% of band kids can bench one.
No
one. Could any?
A few.
Is there a band kid out there? You think more than 5 out of the 10,000 or less than 5?
Oh, definitely more than. There's a couple buff contra dudes that can probably. I mean, when I was in high school, I was $160. I was benching 205. So there's probably some thick dudes that can get a few reps. But, no, all right. So, yeah, obviously I would want a few NFL combines in there. Combine drills just for fun, and then you could do the 8x8 block. You can play your scales. You can play a paradiddle in the combine. That I would love to go to a combine. So, obviously, you have staff members that are there scouting during the combine.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And it's a week long. And there's like individual drills, and I imagine there's like ensemble drills and stuff. Okay, no, I mean, I think that's a good plan for choosing the kids.
TJ also brought up another potential issue. How would we get the top kids to stick around? Wouldn't they be a lot less excited to join a group that wasn't, air quotes, elite?
I don't know who the hell would be the number one pick.
Well, it depends on what you need.
Like,
pick,
well, let's say once you make a group, you get a 2-year contract or something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think
you got to get a trumpet player. Probably.
I think you'd have to pay him. If you have to do if you told me I had to stay in the same group for 2 years, whether I liked it or not, you better incentivize me, bro. Like, there's a reason these dudes play for the Browns, and it ain't because they love the Browns. It's because they love getting paid $8 million.
What if you paid the top players? What if you paid the top 10, 20 players,
okay.
and then the rest of everyone has to pay tuition?
You guys, whatever. Yeah. You're just along for the ride. Yeah, that's.
But maybe you get good enough one day that in next year's draft you get invited.
Then you're incentivized to Then maybe you get free dues or you get paid next time. No, I think it'd be incredibly fun.
I think we at least initially got TJ's stamp of approval. Our system isn't perfect, but honestly, neither is the system we have now.
But yeah, as an NFL fan, I love the draft. I do a draft party every year. I love fantasy drafts. I love real drafts. I love them all. Could we do a draft on uniforms? Like the best uniforms go to the first draft pick and then all the way back down?
I'm not going to say which ones I think are the best and worst. I'll make some people mad, but I definitely have opinions about Jake. Where like some of the top ones should be and some of the ones. Yeah, they're all kind of wacky anymore.
They all suck.
The Blue Coats did it.
Yeah, it's all their fault. Like, you got a gold medal. Congrats. But now everyone's running around looking like Mystique 12. We all look
You're
like,
right.
Yeah, try again. Well, cool. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Take care.
So what do you think? Could DCI actually have an NFL-style draft where all new performers are selected from one giant audition pool? Do you have an even better system? You can let us know by tweeting us or tagging us on Instagram at virtualartsinc, or you can get in touch with us by email at themorningblock@gmail.com. Themorningblock@gmail.com. Before we wrap things up, Chris has the Bop of the Week. It's a song this week that's just a total bop. Chris, what's the Bop of the Week?
So the Bop of the Week this week is actually going to be a little bit of hip-hop here for our audience. It is Ring by T.I. featuring Young Thug. It's on his new album that's coming out, actually, mid-October, I believe, is when it's going to come out.
So probably by the time you're hearing this, it is certainly out.
Yeah. T.I. is dropping a new album, and one of the songs on there is Ring, featuring Young Thug, and it do slap, as the youth say.
It do slap. Awesome.
Oh, yeah. So, all right. Well, Jake, will you see us out?
Sure. This has been The Morning Block. This show is a production of Virtual Arts Inc. and was produced by Chelsea Levine and hosted by Jake Lyons and Chris Parker. Edited and mixed by Caleb Lee. Our audio engineer is Rosa Westfall. Special thanks to today's guest, TJ Choquette. Logo design is by Brian Harmson, and original theme music was written and produced by Jordan Tehran and Josh Russell. See you all next week.